Hey there everybody! The purpose of this video is to get you some solutions to the Outliers quiz that involves margins of error placed onto sample statistics from, looks like a CDC article about watching TV and increased rates of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and premature mortality. So anyway, premature, I think I said that right. Here's what I already had in the solutions. This is the type 2 diabetes. They said, from my research, I got about an 8% rate of diabetes in the general population, so like 1 in 12 people. And then it said for each additional 2 hours of TV viewing per day, the risk of type 2 diabetes went up by 20%, or increased by 20%. So I assume that meant 28%. And the whole point of the problem is that yes, 8 does definitely sound like more than 28, but the thing about it is that there's a margin of error on both of those sample statistics. I called it 5%. That's probably too high, but it'll do for demonstration purposes. If you take 8% and add and subtract 5% from that, you're going to get down around 3 and then up around 13. And if you take 28% plus or minus that same 5, you're down around 23 up to 33, and you can see that from the original problem. What I wanted to do was just stack on top of this number line the two other conditions, which were cardiovascular disease, which we'll do in blue. So we'll do cardiovascular disease in blue. It looks like that one in the general population is at 4.1%, so you got like 1 in 25 people. If you put that down here, I put the populations with this little white border around it. I didn't want to have the colors too out of control on this board for demonstration. And I also wanted them to have some kind of a tie, so I figured I'd just have both cardiovascular diseases tied with blue, and then we'll put a white band around the one from the general population, which is 4.1%. Now, if you put it at 4.1%, technically speaking, if you add and subtract 5%, it's going to go below 0. You can do that, I got no problem with that, but I'm going to make mine stop at 0 because you can't go below 0% infection of cardiovascular disease. And it's probably going to go up to around 9%. Okay, and we're going to make that the general population. So all this really is, if you think back to the beginning of class, it's just a way of graphically visualizing the margin of error we were talking about back then. That's all. It's 15% higher with every additional 2 hours of TV per day. So if we take 15 plus the 4, we get 19. It's going to be right around here. But 19 down 5 is going to be right around 14. And then 19 up 5 is up at 24. So that is going to be your confidence interval for chance of cardiovascular disease with an additional 2 hours of television watched per day. And then we'll go to, let's use green, for premature mortality, which is at 0.2% in the general population. That's essentially 0. That's 2 in 1,000, 1 in 500 people. So I'm going to call that 0. And rather than going negative, I'm just going to go up 5%. I'm going to say it's between 0 and 5%. And I'm going to make a little note about this over here on the side, that I'm not bothering going down because these are negative percentages. And there's really no need to talk about negative percentages. And this is premature mortality. Premature mort. Pre-mort. It's a fun little abbreviation. It looks like it's up 13% from that, which we'll just call 13% because it's basically 13 plus 0. But 13 is now going to drop 5, so it's going to be somewhere in it's at 8%, so it's going to start at 8, which is down here, and then 13 plus 5 is up to 18, which is here. So there we go. Now, here's the takeaway from these intervals. Every condition that they've checked, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, premature mortality, every single one of those conditions is definitely significantly higher with the additional 2 hours of TV per day. For sure, right? I mean, this is not touching that. That means that even at the highest here, it's still lower than the lowest here. You've got this gap. These are called minimum measurable differences sometimes. So here you've got a gap of about, what is that, 10 percentage points. Here it's about 3, here it's about 1 or 2. But there's a gap. That's meaningful. That's statistically meaningful. This is higher than that. This is higher than that. That's higher than that. And you got to realize that's number one. Number two, I arbitrarily put a 5% margin of error on this thing, right? It's probably not that high. It's probably even smaller than that. So you could shrink these intervals down, and the difference would get even more significant because they'd be pulling further away from each other, number one. Okay. So that's that. So statistically, I see a difference. Here's the problem I have with the article. If you look at the title of the article again, prolonged television viewing linked to increased risk of type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, premature death. Okay, watching television is the most common daily activity apart from work and sleep in many parts of the world, but it is time for people to change their viewing habits. According to a new study from Harvard, prolonged TV viewing was associated. Okay, so the word is associated. Okay, associated, which means there's a correlation between watching more television and these increased rates. The problem is, when they say it's time to change our habits, first of all, I'm not condoning watching a bunch of television a day. I mean, God, I'll be lucky to watch 2 hours of television every month, maybe. But I'm not condoning watching more. I don't want to watch more. And why do I not watch more? Because rather than getting up in the morning and putting the TV on, I get up in the morning and go to the pool instead. And the reason I do that is because that keeps me healthy. And that's what you have to realize. Just because people are watching 2 more hours of television a day doesn't imply that that's what's causing the spike in these conditions. It could just as easily be the fact that their entire lifestyle is more sedentary. And the 2 extra hours per day is only aiding and abetting that sedentary lifestyle. They could also be people that don't walk when they could walk somewhere, they drive instead. I once had a friend who would drive down the street to her parents' house 4 blocks away. And I remember asking her about that, and she said, well, I grew up in the southern part of the United States, and we drove everywhere. I'm like, but it's 4 houses down, you know, why would you? But that's because you have to unlearn that behavior. It's not easy. Trust me, it's not easy getting up and going to the pool in the morning, but I do it. So here's the deal. You have to realize that a correlation doesn't imply a causation, and in E8 it says the message is simple. Cutting back on TV watching can significantly reduce risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and premature mortality. No, it can't. It cannot do that, okay? It's not the TV that's causing the conditions. It's the TV that's associated with the conditions. There are many things causing it. Last I checked, there's nothing in a television that affects the metabolic rate of your body, let alone your absorption of sugar in the bloodstream. So therefore, there is no cause and effect of TV with type 2 diabetes. And I don't think it like dumps cholesterol into your arteries. So these differences are meaningful, but it's at the root cause of why they're meaningful. It has nothing to do with anything other than the sedentary lifestyle these folks are most likely to lead in. I believe we just answered, I think, E8. Yep, anything with what the author stated. Yeah, there's quite a bit. I think we just covered that pretty well. So anyway, the things to be learned. Oh, the other thing too I wanted to say is it's a little misleading because it says each additional 2 hours is linked with an additional 20% rate. That's kind of ridiculous. I mean, although so is the thought of maybe watching 5 or 10 hours of television a day, because according to that, each additional 2 adds another 20%. So this is, let's do it with this one. This is 2 additional hours. If I was to then watch 2 additional hours, the center wouldn't be on 27 or 28, it'd be on 48. And then if I watch 2 additional hours, it'd be on 68. And then if I watch 2 additional hours, I'd be out in the hallway on 88. And then if I watch 2 additional hours, I'd be at 108%. Well, that doesn't make any sense. It makes about as much sense as watching 10 hours of television a day. Okay, unless you're watching like all 6 Star Wars movies, or all 3 Back to the Futures, or something awesome like that. But again, that's not daily, that's once in a while. So, good statistics, but potential misuse of what the stats are telling you. As always, be careful. It's a jungle out there. See you in class.